Rejection can be crippling only if you let it. There is a strength and an understanding that is necessary for us as dreamers to push through rejection, keep our momentum, and press towards our mission. It's my desire for you to find the strength and have the wisdom necessary for you to effectively handle rejection. So in this conversation, we are going to be talking about growing through rejection. Welcome to the Dream Lifestyle Podcast. I'm grateful to have you here today in our conversation about growing through rejection. Why is this important? We know that as dreamers, we are going to need other people in order to accomplish our goals. And the reality is, not everyone is going to say yes to us on our journey to success. So we need to make sure that we have a good, strong, stable relationship with rejection. What do you do when you have a great idea for a new project that you're dealing with at work and your boss says no? What do you do when you're in your sales call and you're trying to sell your product or service and the person that you were trying to sell it to says no? In this conversation, I'm going to be sharing with you just 3 practical things that you can do when someone says no. Because the reality is, you're going to hear a lot more no's than you're going to hear yeses. But be clear that one yes can change your entire life. And so what I want to do is really shift your thinking when you think about rejection, because there is a way with these 3 things I'm going to be sharing with you for you to grow through it, where you're not going to hit a wall, so to speak, when you experience rejection. You'll be able to hear the no, and then you'll be able to grow through it and be able to press on towards the mark. But one thing I need you to understand, and this is just the mind shift piece of it, rejection requires objective thinking. What is objective thinking? Objective thinking means that you need to be able to look at a situation from other perspectives. If you look at the situation that you've been rejected in subjectively, meaning just you only look at it from your perspective, your lens, your viewpoint, you're never really going to be able to get the answers that are necessary for you to grow through the rejection. You're only going to be seeing a wall of no. But it's with objective thinking that you're able to grasp a better understanding of the situation. So the first thing I want you to just understand as just a basic principle point is that rejection requires objective thinking. When you grasp this idea of objective thinking, when you do interact with rejection, when someone does say no to you, the first thing that you need to do is just stay faithful in doing. This is important because rejection can be crippling. Rejection can leave you stuck. It can leave you paralyzed, but that is a choice. And so I want you to choose when the person says no, when they say no to your great idea at work, when they say no to you going for a certain position, when they say no to your offer. I want you to choose to stay faithful in doing. And there's parts of this that I want to really point out to you when it comes to just staying faithful in doing, because understand, one rejection does not define your destiny. So you want to make sure that you choose to stay faithful. And that starts with encouraging yourself. You need to encourage yourself. Do not allow rejection to cause you to go back to the drawing board on your identity and who you are and what you're called to do. That is just one person's perspective going in and clashing with yours. And for whatever the reason, they said no. But you have to make sure that you simply stay faithful in doing. And in staying faithful in doing, you need to make sure that you encourage yourself. And in encouraging yourself, you will be building self-confidence. That is how you grow through it. That's really the first step. You need to be able to encourage yourself, because it's only when you encourage yourself, you can stay at a good place so that you can grow through the rejection. And once you encourage yourself, when you basically, you have your self-talk and you're telling yourself that this rejection does not define me. My destiny is still mine, even though I'm facing rejection. They may have said no to this particular situation, but we'll see what happens in the future. When you make the decision to encourage yourself, now you can make the decision to keep your momentum. And when you keep your momentum, you're not allowing your one conversation with that one person where they said no stop you from doing the work. It's not enough to just encourage yourself, but then you don't apply yourself anymore. You want to be able to encourage yourself enough to where you then start taking action again. And not just even the same action. I would encourage you to take your action to another level. And so when you encourage yourself and you're staying faithful in doing, you need to make sure you keep your momentum. So you need to have at least 1 or 2 action steps that you can take, even in the midst of the no. What can you do? How do you keep things moving forward? You keep your momentum after you encourage yourself. Then after that, every single decision, and I talked about this in a previous conversation we had together, you want to focus on the promise and progress, because it is a choice. Understand me, hear me. It is a choice to allow rejection to stop your progress, but you can also choose to power through it. You can choose to grow through the rejection, so long as you stay faithful in doing. You encourage yourself. You pump yourself up. You encourage yourself with the word of God. You encourage yourself with words of a friend, words of encouragement from a friend. Whatever you do, you need to encourage yourself, where you are not questioning who you are, your identity, and what you're called to do on this earth. You need to encourage yourself. After that, you need to keep your momentum. Keep your momentum. Keep your good habits up. You don't stop doing what's gotten you to this point. You keep going. If anything, I tell you to raise the bar, raise the standard. And then thirdly, you focus on your promise and your progress. Your promise is not going anywhere, but it's only if you stop yourself from getting to the promise that the rejection stops you. So you need to make sure and make the decision to stay faithful in doing, and align your decisions. Once you receive the no, once you receive the rejection, you make the decision that I'm still going to stay focused on my promise, and I'm going to stay focused on my progress. And as I keep my momentum, I'm going to keep this thing moving forward, because I am who I am. I am called to do whatever it is that I'm setting out to do, because there's a calling on my life. There's impact that I'm called to have on this earth, and I will not allow one no to stop me. So the first thing you need to do when someone says no, when you receive the rejection, stay faithful in doing. The next thing that you need to do is get clear understanding. Keyword on clear understanding, not a general idea, not an abstract understanding. Get a very clear understanding, so clear that a third grader can understand why you received rejection. And number one, this takes maturity, because in most cases, this is a conversation. Most of the time, this isn't through an email, but you're going to have a face-to-face conversation, even confrontation, we could even say, in regards to why you were rejected. And this is going to take maturity. You don't have this conversation where it's visibly obvious that you're upset. You don't have this conversation where you're visibly emotional. You have this conversation with your head held high, chest poked out, still knowing who you are, because you know that you're committed to staying faithful in doing. But you are mature in the conversation, because that speaks volumes. You can stand out simply by being mature when receiving rejection, because there's majority of people who act very immature, I'll say, whenever they receive rejection. So when you make the decision to get clear understanding, number one, you handle that conversation with maturity. It should not be visible on your face, in your body language, in your tone, in any way, shape, or form that you are upset by the rejection. You stand up with your head held high and you get clear understanding. And you simply ask the question of, why was I rejected? Simple like that. Why was I rejected? And this is, again, you're just starting a conversation, because you understand that you are going to stay faithful in doing, but you also understand that their rejection cannot hold you back from your promise. But you do need that information. So by getting clear understanding, and simply by asking, why did I get rejected? Why did I receive this rejection notice? Why did you say no to my idea? Is there more information? You are able to just start the conversation, so that way, with objective thinking, you can get a better understanding of the entire situation. So that way you can present a better solution. So that way you can present a better product. So that way you can work better with your team at work, whatever the situation, based on, your scenario. But you want to be able to ask the question, why was I rejected? And you should, prayerfully, get a good response back. And if you feel like whatever answer you receive back, it's still kind of uncertain, you basically ask follow-up questions. But the goal is to get clear understanding as to why you were rejected. And once you get that clear understanding as to why the application was rejected, you get clear understanding as to why the idea was turned down, you get clear understanding as to why they said no to your offer. Then you ask the feedback question of, how can I improve? I usually like to ask it as, what do I need to add for this to have been a yes? What should I have done so I would have been accepted? When you ask these types of feedback questions, now you are subconsciously communicating to the person that rejected you that you just want to get better. It's not about, again, the situation where they said no to you. You are communicating to them like, hey, no problem. You said no, not a problem, but I want to get better. I want the information. I want to understand the way you think. And you never know. They could change their no to a yes just by you asking these questions, because there could be something that maybe you didn't communicate properly that they missed or they misunderstood and they said no. But by you asking these questions and getting that feedback, and especially with this question of, what can I improve? What do I need to add in order for this to have been a yes? When you ask that question, you get the right information. So you want to make sure that when you are facing rejection, when rejection is at your front door, you stay faithful in doing. You are committed that I'm going to stay faithful in doing what has got me here. The second thing that you're going to do is that you're going to get clear understanding. You're going to handle the conversation with maturity. You're going to ask, why was I rejected? Get a clear answer from that. And then you're going to ask, what can I do to improve? Now, once you've gotten all this information, once you're committed to staying faithful and you have the information as to why you were rejected, now is the time for you to do the work and merge it all together, where you say, okay, I'm going to be faithful in doing the work. I'm going to keep my momentum where I'm going to still take action. But now I have more accurate information, so I know why I got rejected. I know what I may need to add to my offer. I know how I may need to communicate with my boss, my management team, or whoever, so that way the things that I want to do, my great ideas that I have that get me excited, get greenlit. When we're able to put these two things together, the commitment to keep things moving forward and staying faithful, and the information as to why we were rejected, the third thing that you're able to do is take it as a challenge. I want you to receive every bit of rejection and take it as a challenge. I want you to take it as a challenge to be better, because it's not enough for you to keep things at the same level, because that's where you receive rejection. There's another level in you. So I'm encouraging you that when you do face rejection and you are committed to staying faithful and you ask the feedback questions and you do it maturely and you get clear understanding, that you then make a commitment to take it as a challenge and raise the standard, raise the bar, do more, do better, improve the quality of your work, improve the quantity of your work, but make sure that you are intentional with, in some way, shape, or form, getting better. That's the challenge that is available for us when we face rejection. But again, it's a choice. It is a choice to take rejection as a challenge. And then after that, once you take it as a challenge and you look at it as a challenge to be better, you just keep knocking. You just keep knocking. Even if one person says no, that doesn't mean the next person's going to say no. That doesn't mean the third person's going to say no. You keep knocking. You keep asking, because, as I mentioned before, one yes can change your life. And I used to deal with this a lot when I was working on sales, still working on sales in my production company, still working on having ideas, pitching ideas. And even now, as I'm putting together the speakers for the symposium, you're reaching out to people and everything like that. I'm getting no's, but I understand how to grow through rejection. And I get it. Lord knows I get it. Rejection is tough, but it's a choice to grow through it. And so I made the decision for myself personally, in my own personal experience, that I'm going to keep knocking. There is not a single rejection that I can receive that's going to stop me from my promise. And the same goes for you. So when you understand that when rejection's at your front door, when you are experiencing rejection and the person says no to you, and you could be upset, you could be confused, you could be hurt, I just want you to stay faithful in doing. I want you to get clear understanding. And then I want you to take it as a challenge. I want you to take it as a challenge to be better. I want you to keep knocking, but then I just want you to get innovative, find another option. Like I said before, just because they said no to you does not mean that someone else will say no to you. You just need to weed out, go through the no's till you find your yes. And as you get the information from the no's, you'll find yourself finding more yeses. But it's only when you handle all of this with objective thinking, when you encounter rejection, that you can effectively do this process, go through these 3 steps that I talked about to effectively grow through rejection. So just to recap everything that we talked about, we know that rejection requires objective thinking. And once we understand this concept of objective thinking, where we are basically able to place ourselves in other people's shoes, where we're not just thinking subjectively, meaning we're not just thinking about a situation based on how we see it. With the objective thinking, number 1, we make a commitment to staying faithful in doing. We are going to encourage ourselves. We are going to keep our momentum, and we are going to focus on our promise and our progress with our decisions. The second thing we're going to do is get clear understanding. We're going to handle the conversation with maturity. Then we're going to ask, why was I rejected? Then we're going to ask, how can I improve? What could I do to improve? What could have happened for me to get a yes? What needed to change? What did I need to present better? We ask these feedback questions so we can get clear understanding. And then lastly, we take rejection as a challenge. We take it as a challenge to be better. We keep knocking and we find another option. We think outside the box. We get creative. We do what we can, because one no does not determine our destiny. So I hope that this conversation was helpful to you, because this is really important. If you want to get anywhere, you are going to hear more no's than yes. And so a part of really encouraging yourself, a part of staying faithful in doing, a part of, really getting clear understanding and being able to handle that conversation with maturity, taking things as a challenge, you're going to need to grow. So the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is download the growth guide that is in the description below. And I'm going to ask you to share this conversation with someone. I want you to share this conversation with someone that you know is preparing for a big opportunity, or has heard no and really has a hard time dealing with rejection, because I believe that these 3 things really can change someone's life and change their relationship with rejection so they can achieve all that they're called to achieve. So as you prepare for next week's conversation, go check out last week's conversation. I appreciate you. Always remember, your dream is possible as long as you are willing to work for it.